Alright everyone, I've been postponing this video for a long time, so let's do it. This is the tier list for all the dark abilities in hard mode, the Dark Mirror update of Skul Slayer. So let's jump right in. They are in order, so the first one is Innate Power. It reads, basic attack damage dealt to enemies is amplified by 15 or 25%. It is a 2-tier update, meaning it is 2 and 4 cost for fully upgrading it. So total 6 of core quartz. But the issue here is how good is it? Is it worth the cost? So in short, I'm going to say if you're doing a basic attack build, you don't want damage amplification for your attack. Usually, you are usually going for fast attacks and essentially adding effects that goes for it. You usually don't want power skulls punching, even though they have their the theme, for instance, water skull and living armor, but they're better as skill based skulls. So you don't have much basic attack damage based skulls to take advantage of this, really. Even though there is some space, it is not that good. So I'm going to start putting this into C tier. Don't like it? Fight me. Or don't. I don't know. Next one, Super Baby. Super Baby is our first defensive uh, dark ability, which just increases our max HP by 20 or 30%. It is also 2 tier, so six total quartz for that. And is it worth it? Yes, if you haven't gotten to a point of your skill that you just don't need it. But still, it is very, very, very good. And honestly, S tier. Even after the nerfs, it was way more powerful in the beta. Lethal speed. Okay, that's a very weird one, but I've actually have played with it recently, and it's better than you would think. Let me say, this is first, if you have Rider, this is instantly uh, a positive feedback loop because the movement speed gives you more crits, and more crits give you more of that. So positive feedback loop. But if you are playing any rapidity build, this gives you 90% attack speed because rapidity builds you're usually doing crits. This is going to be the first controversial one because no one ever takes this, but this is A tier. Coziness. While a shield is active, skill cooldown speed increases by 25, 50, or 75%, and critical rate increases by 10, 20, or 30. This another interesting one because it is situational, it is conditional, and when it is active, is good. But also, it is our first 3 tier uh, ability. So it is 25, then 50, then 75, but it costs 1, 3, and 5. So instead of costing 6 like the previous ones, actually, it wasn't right. Lethal Speed has 3, by the way. So, my mistake. But anyway, coziness. If you are playing Shield Skull, S tier. If you're not playing, it depends on you having uh, a skill. Like a repeatable way of adding shields. You usually don't have that. So it is on shield, S tier. If you have Cyclops, very good. Shield in Dark Mirror is very hard to maintain because every hit does deal absurd amount of damage. So I'm going to put this as worse than lethal speed because this year just needs you to attack. This one needs, uh, it is a good enabler. It is going to be very great where we need it, but, well, you don't need it most of the time. And that's the issue. It won't be good and most of the time. It's highly situational. And against bosses, you take one hit, you lose all of the bonuses. Reckless Posture. This one was a must pick in my list before the nerf during the beta. It was super baby, reckless posture. Your build was defensive enough. You don't need it. Now it's bad. 20. I know it can increase by 100% your physical attack, but you need to take 5 hits. Oh wait, this is actually has changed. You 5 seconds when you get hit once. Okay, I'm actually just misread. They changed how it works. It's actually good. So this is protection against combos. It is 35% damage reduction for for 3 seconds after you get hit once. It is good. It's not that good, but it is better than I was thinking. Reading is good. Learn that, kids. Counterattack. No one uses this. 2 seconds is too short. Might be okay in dash builds, but you can do better for a 3 tier thing. It's too short. It's honestly, it is our first F. It just sucks. Let's jump to lightweight. Lightweight is on the fun tier. It is a single tier upgrade, which is great. You pay 3 and that's it for you. But, well, it is only good in dash builds and in rooms. It is bad against bosses. It does nothing. And if something does nothing against bosses, it needs to be very, 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 very good. Very good if you're doing a speed run. Otherwise, F tier. Next one, shorthand. You know how I put innate power in B? Very generously. Oh no. In C, shorthand, however, is generalized. Because if you're usually doing basic attacks, you're melee. And if you are doing this, shorthand is way better. You just deal because not only your basic attack is going to be amplified, but also your items and skills, everything's your quintessences, everything's going to deal damage as long as enemies are within your range. Yes, the range is very, very close, but still, it is between A and S tier. I'm going to put it in A because it's still fairly situational. It's not something that you would just want to take it every time. Hawkeye. It is, it is a bit different. It is the opposite of shorthand. But here's the thing. It is worse than shorthand because in the Dark Mirror you have so many enemies in your face that it is hard to keep them away. Everything moves fast. So while shorthand is higher tier, this one is going to be on B. Hopefully I have enough space for this. But yeah, let's go for the next one, which is going to be Soul Strike. Soul Strike, highly situational. You need skill damage dealt to enemies is amplified by 25, 50, or 75%. But it only works for every 2 seconds for an enemy. It is a 3 tier. It is very good amplification, and it is highly dependent on the kind of skills you are using. If you're doing Reaper with Harvest or uh, Warrior with the concentration stuff, S tier. Otherwise, it is awful, but when you want it, you really, really want it. I'm going to put it in A because it's just like shorthand. When you want it, you really want it. Weakness exposure. It's a single tier update that reads, leave a mark when attacking an enemy. Upon accumulating 3 marks, all marks disappear and damage will be inflicted based on the highest between physical and magic attack. Meaning it's good for physical, it's good for magical. It is a single tier, works on bosses or enemies, and it doesn't vanish, it doesn't have a timeout. You just keep hitting. So the damage, what people don't know, it is essentially 10 to 11% of your current damage, and it can crit. It triggers from item damage. It has a hidden cooldown internally of 0.1, but still, very, very good, excepting very small circumstances, which where Soul Strike would be. But you get more stuff dealing multi-hits than single hits. Therefore, it is S tier. Hard Shell. Shield, two tiers, 15 to 25 shields, but you cannot accumulate. See, yes, sometimes you might want this if you are playing like trying to learn how to play, but it's not that good. Beast Blood, 120 percent physical attack at tier 3, and move speed at 75 for 8 seconds. It is good in rooms as long as you keep killing enemies, but it is a 3 tier. It is great for speedruns, by the way, but for regular runs, it does nothing against bosses. And if it does nothing against bosses, it's really, really bad. Just like Lightweight, F tier. Kingslayer was very good in the beta. I believe it costed 1 and it was 15 or 20%. But now that it costs 3, it is essentially 10% amplification against only adventurers and bosses. It is not worth it one of your 4 slots, usually. Honestly, you can get amplification effects for your most prominent source of damage, and it usually is going to be better. C tier. Controversial. That's what C stands for. Next one, achievement. 10 HP, clearing a map, 20 after defeating a boss. It's just 1 healing orb per room. It is one single tier, might be good while you are trying to learn the game, but nope. F. Electric Field. That's the interesting one. 10 basic attacks, no timeout, but then 3 tiers gives you an electric field. Lasts for 2, 3, or 4 seconds, deals damage to surrounding enemies based on physical and magic attack, which is good. And then, well, decreases damage by 10% and moving speed by 50. It is okay if you're trying to do rapidity stuff, but you can do better with rapidity stuff. For instance, shorthand, weakness exposure, go getter. It, it's a C. It's not an F. It's okay, but it's might be a B. Put it with Kingslayer. Controversial. Anyway, collection desire. If you have played this game for more than 5 hours, I don't know how long it takes to unlock this. It's an S tier. Yes, it is limiting, but it is hyper damage, so it is an enabler of mixed damage or single source of damage. Still very good. It has a small constraint that you won't be able to do very, very, very focused builds But at level 10 with inscription synthesis machine, it's very easy to make this give you constant over 100% damage. The average is around 150, closer to 200 sometimes, and it is a single tier. It is a must take in most runs, which makes this S tier. Next one, Blast Resistance. Recovers 25% HP and loses this, but you can buy it again. And it it is an extra life that happens before your main extra life, so you can take this multiple times and bring the 50% extra life to the hero. You usually, because if you are getting one hit and dying, this is going to be better than Super Baby in some runs. Otherwise, it is comparable to a Super Baby because it is a single tier, costs 3, and it is between the two Super Baby uh, extra HPs values. So Super Baby is S, this is also S. Also, if you combine both, now you have a bunch more HP. Piety. When you recover HP, you oh no, you get more HP recovery, and when it is recovered, you get a bunch of extra damage. Very, 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 very good if you're playing Ghoul. Kinda. That's the only reason to do this. You don't heal much. Yes, if you're trying to play um, Revenge, you can get there, but you need to put 30, uh, 30 levels of piety. So if you're doing Revenge and you're taking hits at 30 hits, you're kind of dead. So C tier, unless you're on Ghoul, then it's S, probably. Riftblade. This is the opposite of weakness exposure, kinda. Weakness exposure is a constant damage, but it needs to hit 3 times, but with very, very, very short cooldown. This one, however, has a longer cooldown, and the damage has to increase as like it has to amp up, so you need to deal damage every single time. It is it is good in rooms around Act 2, so you can take it on Act 1, bring it to Act 2, Act 3, and replace it on Act 4, especially if you're learning the game. It is a 3 tier. The amplification to 150 is not worth it because you need to deal damage 15 times to get it working. So it is okay against bosses, but the total damage, the DPS value of it, is not good enough. B tier for me. Next one, Put Pocket. Plant a bomb when attacking an enemy. Bombs can only be planted on one enemy? No, I think it's only once per enemy. It's bad translation. All bombs explode every 8 or 5 seconds, dealing damage based on the higher attack between physical and magic attack. I'll put it here in C because it's a worse Rift Blade. Yes, it deals more damage, but if you have to hit every single enemy and then run away and wait 8 seconds for them to take some damage, it is a lot of work. Yes, it is 2 tiers, but no, just no. Mercury Heart. Gain 2 Mercury Hearts upon defeating a dark enemy. When hit with at least 1 Mercury Heart, it nullifies damage and you become invincible for 1 second. Meaning, if it is quick enough, you don't even get comboed. And it is a single tier. We don't take this enough unless we're doing the 3 Omen runs. But if you are able to not take enough damage if you're playing a defensive build, this is S tier. If you're doing a 3 Omen run, this is mandatory. You don't have any other choice. But at this point, Like, I'll put it in A tier. It is highly, um, it is fairly, it is good utility, but you usually don't take it for utility. You take it for an enabler of specific strategies. And the specific strategy is usually Omen. You want this very early, and then amp up. It is worse that it has a limit because of the double kill glitch, but because of the double kill glitch, you actually it makes this stronger. So I'll put it in A and keep it like that. Next one, big mountain pressure. Wow, if you spend like 4 seconds without dealing any damage, you will deal damage for 1 second. That is 250%, 240% more. And then for 2 seconds, you need to start increasing again. Meaning, every 6 seconds, you you do a bit more damage. Please don't. Just blast your enemies and kill them. Predicted pain. Upon dealing skill damage to an enemy, skill damage dealt to the same enemy is amplified by 4, 8, or 12% for 2 seconds. And with 5 stacks, it goes to 20, 40, or 60%. If you know how Soul Strike deals one single big hit, this is for multiple small hits and amplification on that. It is at least as good as Soul Strike, perhaps better, because many skills deal multi hits. I will put it in A, but it is very good. And talking about very good, Go Getter. Damage dealt to enemies through an attack for an item is amplified by 15, 30, or 45%. You wouldn't believe how many items deal damage in this game. You don't know that? Trust me, try a run with a Rapid Skull or Genie or even Hunter and take 0 items that deal damage. I tried this and it sucked. Meaning item damage is all around us, even if you're not looking. So, because of that, this is S tier. It goes on every build that has items that deal damage. And the more items that have deal damage that you have, even better. Next one, Silent Cries. When using a skill, the cooldown of a different skill on cooldown decreases by 20 or 30%. It was buffed. It was before 2 or 3 seconds, which was awful in characters like the Reaper, which have high cooldown. But now, because it is 30%, 30% of a 40-second cooldown is 12 seconds. You gain 12 seconds by just pressing a button. So if you are playing 2 skulls and you have 4 skills, you press, let's say, Harvest with Reaper. No, Fisher, Harvest. Fisher is 30% down. You swap. Uh, I don't know, Bomber. Do Burn and Kaboom. You're back to Reaper. Your Fisher is reloaded again, and your Harvest is going to be instantly reloaded as soon as you press the Fisher again. It is this good. Try this. If you're doing anything, like you have 2 skulls and you are swapping, this is as good as it gets. It is, if you're not using your skills to deal damage, might not be as good, but this is generic enough that it's good on most of them. And then the last one, relapse. Relapse when status effect is this translation is a bit tough, but when status effect ends on an enemy, there is a 20, 40, or 60% of reinflicting the same status effect. For instance, if you have bleed or freeze, you or stun, you can keep dealing damage and or keep stun locked the enemy. Yes, it has an issue though. Bosses have stun and freeze protection. After a while, it will vanish and have no effect. But if you have something like cat eyes or anything that just oh, or the curse that deals damage based bloodfast, re-inflicting status instantly without cooldown and that deals damage, this can get broken very quickly. It is highly situational though, so it is A only, but that's it. When it's good, it's good. It's great. Highly situational stuff works in rooms, works in bosses, even better in bosses. So this is my final tier. Complain on comments, share on Reddit, and complain there as well. Otherwise, fight me in real life, bro. Anyway, let me know if you like this kind of format. I just set this up and sat down and through this. I've been postponing this for 3 months already. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you change? Am I a bad player for my 700 hours and multiple wins at level 10? Did I underrate or overrate anything? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching. See you in the next video, which is probably just a regular run of Skul the Hero Slayer. But until then, as always, stay safe.